this room know that you're going to Israel? Yes? Going to Israel? Raise your hand if you know you're going to Israel. I'd like to get a sense of this. How many of you have been to Israel before? Okay. How many of you have been to Israel before in the last 10 years? How many of you have been to how many of you were there in 1948 when it was founded? How many of you see yourself as chalutzim, pioneers? I was the only one who was there. It's very interesting when you think about it, and it's the kind of thing you have to remember. For so many of us, the state of Israel was something that happened after we had consciousness. I was born in 1945. And notice why I dropped that off, 1945. And when we were doing, I spoke about it, actually in the Florida service. Any of you at the Florida service? I spoke about it being 70 years old. So much of what is being commemorated this year, the 70th anniversaries of D-Day, Holocaust camps being liberated, is really part of our history. And so where you are on the Israel scale is often really dependent on who you were. Someone asked me today, how come young people have no idea. They weren't 19, they didn't live through the birth of Israel. They didn't live through the Holocaust. Thank God for Birthright. Because how many of you have family members who've gone to Israel on Birthright? Family members, okay. Amazing what that's going to do. Birthright, that's that free program, which is training young Jewish people that they have to pay for nothing and everyone's going to give them everything. Wait a second. Hello? What you did to your kids all those years, giving them everything for free. We're continuing it and training. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to be here for a few moments in this. A family that I'm involved with just landed, coming back from a distant place, and some of you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'm not going to share anymore. So I have to go visit. I'm so excited to take people to Israel. And I think my colleagues who will be with us and our wives, people ask us constantly, how come you're willing to do this kind of thing? Get on buses, get off buses, hear the stories. Because the excitement is I get to do it over and over again. It's not just being there and thinking and only watching you, especially if you've been there. How many first-timers to Israel? Raise your hand. For us, watching your responses makes all the work Rabbi Yedwab has done to prepare this trip. And by the way, is he in the room? He's in the room. Give him a round of applause. He signs Loss's name to letters. He signs Smolash's name to letters. But I want you to understand that the work is not being done by Loss or by Smolash. It's really being done right here. So he's going to handle the practical stuff that you need to know to do. The only thing I have to tell you in the area of practicality, make sure you know how to work your camera. If you're buying a new camera the day before, you have family going to give it to you, make sure you've worked with it for a week or so. There's nothing worse than getting to Israel and not being able to open the camera. You hear that? Which button do you push to make it work? I don't care how many times I've been to Israel. I will tell you I'm going to Israel this coming Wednesday for a totally different kind of thing that I'm involved with. And I'll be there for a week, and I'm going to be going to meetings all the time. But no matter how many times you go there, when you get off that plane, and we just came back from AIPAC, and when you sat in AIPAC and heard the story of Israel, and not simply, it wasn't just a matter of being there for the obviously important speeches that were going on, the 16,000 Jews were together, conflicted about much of the conversation, but to learn about what this country's about with its engineering, with its creativity, with the dynamism of a country that is shaping the world, really, with what it is able to export, with the number of Nobel Prize winners, it is an extraordinary experience. When I get to go with a group of 40 people on a bus, 40, and by the way, for the most part, I'll be waving to all three buses as they depart. That was a little humor. Come on, guys. You're not that tired yet. Interjecting. You have no idea. Everyone will, people keep asking me at my age, is this the last trip you're taking to Israel, you and your wife, with a group? And I say, yes, it's the last trip. You better sign up now. That's been going on for the last 20 years. It's a beautiful thing. Going to Israel is a dynamic experience that I wish for all of you. I know some of you have been talking to me about the possibility of going for a long time. You will come back having a deeper understanding of that which was explained today. I believe if those of you who are here for the lecture will have a little bit historical understanding of it, but it is emotional. We may have mentioned the Holocaust Memorial, Yad Vashem, but when you walk through it and you walk through the Children's Memorial, especially in this year, the 70th anniversary, when you meet the people, and by the way, we will engage with people, there's a level of excitement and emotion about being there. And our joy will be being with you. Not simply as teachers, our guides are teachers. We have wonderful guides chosen, and they go through a rigorous examination to work with us. And why do they want to work with us? Because the company that sponsors and you've been working with and connecting with knows we're pretty good providers of numbers of people to come to their country. So they provide and take really good care of us when we get there. So we have a wonderful staff in Israel who will take care of us. We have wonderful guides who will teach and lead us. You have clergy and our wives who will be there to be participants. We're not just the leaders of the group, we're participants. We enjoy hearing it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard so many of the same stories. The beauty of it is, at this point in my life, I don't remember what I've heard before. And the story sounds new every time. It's wonderful. But to hear the history and to experience it, I know that for me, on a very personal note, my career at Temple Israel began with the first innovation that I brought, which was taking teenagers to Israel. And I remember the first 17 kids that their parents had the courage to send them on a trip that no one in this community was doing. And then it grew and it grew and it continued on. And from that moment, I learned one thing. I was always a Zionist. I grew up with a family that understood what Israel was about and the meaning of our history. And I was able to transmit that and to keep that going from generation to generation. One thing, every kid who wants to go to Israel with us, we have money to help them. No child has ever stopped from going on a Temple Israel program because they can't afford it. And that's not because we're wonderful, but because of the generosity of our members who've made available scholarships. I only wish we could do the same thing for adults. I mean it. I wish it's not inexpensive to travel to Israel. As all of you know, it's a commitment. So for some of you, it's been years of savings to be able to provide the opportunity for yourselves to get on that bus and to go. But I promise you, we will work hard to make it the kind of experience that you will remember for the rest of your life. And that doesn't make any difference how many times you've been there. Every time you go, it is an aliyah, it is a going up. It's a shared experience with people who you will get to know. And some of you may know a lot of people in the room. Some of you may know very few people in the room. And some of you may be watching this on places in Florida, Arizona. They're on with us, hopefully. Enjoy the warm weather. It's 90 degrees here. It's very warm. We miss you. We love you. And I'm going to leave you right now. But turn this over to the one who's really running the program, so he gets all the credit. And what else does he get? None of it. Thank you all.
Thank you. It is true. At this point, I do all the organizing, but I have to say the spiritual mother and father of this are really Shoshi and Tzvi. And I will tell you that it's really because of their leadership that Temple Israel takes more people to Israel than anybody but El Al. I mean, we really do, and it's because of them, and we run these trips very much in the spirit that they began them. And most importantly, that is a spirit which says that we do not tolerate kvetchers. Okay, so I just want you to know, he started that, it's all him, and if you really want to kvetch, this is just not the trip for you. And I mentioned that because someone was talking earlier about, this person on the bus. I will tell you, no matter who is going or not going will be on your bus, by the time you end up those 2 weeks, they will be your best friends, your family. You are going to cry at the airport because you're not going to see them for 48 hours. That's the way it's going to happen, and it never happens in any other way. And I will say, and I'm not, it's really because of the spirit that Shosh and Tzvi have brought to this, which is that we create family in those buses. But I do want to talk about those buses a little more, because you're about to send in a form, you should have received it, which asks about who you might want to be traveling with. Again, don't get too crazy about that, okay? Because really, the people you're going to want to be traveling with at the end of the trip are the people who happen to be on your bus. Okay? And that's just a fact. And you can, if you don't believe me, ask anyone who's been on a Temple Israel mission in any year, and they will tell you that that is the way it works. So don't worry too much about it, but do fill out that form so we can help. We can't guarantee, but we can try to get you with a couple or so that you would like to be with. And also on that form, you have to make a very important decision, which is which tracks you want to go on the 2 track days. And I love the track days. So what does that mean? Most days, you will be on a specific bus. And that's very important. Creates community. I always say Judaism happens in groups of 40. It does. And you create community with that group of 40. That is your mishpacha. That is your family. But with all family, there are times you want to get away from them, okay? So we have ways to do that as well. Shabbos, we break up into different groups. In the evenings, you can go out to dinner with anyone, or we sit at tables together, or whatever. There's lots of times when you can break out of that group of 40. And 2 of those times are the 2 track days. So there's 1 track day up north where you are divided not by your bus, but by your interests, and then another track day out of Jerusalem. I cannot tell you how excited I am about the track day out of Jerusalem. I'll talk about it in a moment to give you some hints about what you might want to sign up for. Again, with the track days, though, however, I will challenge you to find a bad one. And what I mean by that is if you don't get your first choice of track day, don't worry about it, because it's very likely you're going to like your second choice better than you would have liked your first choice. And I think you'll see it as I go through them that I'm actually, it's emes, it's truth. So up north, there are 3 of them, and you have this at home. You don't have to, I'm just trying to give you tips for which ones you may want to choose depending on your abilities. So the first one, it says hike to Upper Yehudia waterfall. It's a 2-hour hike. It's a beautiful hike. I love it. But you are going down over stones and steps into a pretty deep gully. It's a gorgeous hike. If you are a hiker, meaning if you own hiking boots and have used them within the last 9 months, that's the trip for you. Okay? This is you will be huffing and puffing, even if you're a hiker. If you are unsteady on your feet, if it's, this is not something you should be doing, honestly. It's also, it can be very hot because in some parts of the hike, there is not a lot of cover. We have plenty of water, you'll have a hat. It's a lot of fun, it's one of my favorite things, but don't have this be your first hike in 15 years. That's probably not a good idea, okay? The second one is to visit the Hula Lake, which for bird watching. Now, I know for some of you, that does not sound very exciting. However, I will tell you that Ron Singer, who was one of our guides, I was just at APAC. I was with someone who was with Ron Singer in Israel recently, and they said, it's crazy. He took us bird watching. I suddenly found birds to be the most fascinating things ever. This guy has a way of making it come to life. It's also a very good place to go if you have difficulty walking, because they do have golf carts, right? Or if you like biking, because if you want to hike it up a little bit, they have bicycles that you can take as well. So that can be a very easy one or a moderate one. It's a good one for a lot of people. And it is beautiful, truly. And like I said, this is Ron's specialty, and he makes it special. The third one is a sort of a moderate, the walk through the Tel Dan Reserve. It's one of the standard stops on Israeli tour buses because you get out, you go for a very short hike on a very flat. I mean, you could take a wheelchair on this hike if you needed to, on a very flat path for a very short amount of time to see a very beautiful waterfall. So it's sort of a moderate hike. If you want to go hiking, but you really shouldn't be on the first hike, that would be the hike for you. Okay? Are there any questions about those 3? Just things you want to hear more about? Yeah. There's no cost. This is all included. Yeah, this is all. There's very little cost for anything on this trip, except for the kickbacks to the rabbis. That's the only thing that you really have to spend extra money on. No, that's right. Yeah. So, yes, go ahead. Yeah, most of them have the Jeep tour attached to it, and they're all going to end up in Sfat, which is a beautiful city, which you're going to love, the mystical city. So you're not. It's really the morning activity that we're talking about here, okay? What's that? Yeah, there are little different things in each of them. You can read that on your own. Though I just wanted to give you a sense of, really more about physically which one you might want to choose, depending on your ability level. That's really was my purpose here. You can all read the rest of it by yourself. When we're in Jerusalem, this is a new track day. I fought for this very hard. It's something I really have been working hard on because most of my friends who go on, who tour now, do what I call neo-tourism. It's sort of the new stuff. You're doing wine tastings. You're doing culinary tours. You're getting cooking classes. You're meeting with political leaders. There's all sorts of interesting things going on, and I wanted to make sure that our tours sort of kept up with the times. If it makes sense. So I'm very excited about the Jerusalem tracks, and let me go through them with you. The first one is one of the new things people are doing as they go to cities is they're renting Segways. And you know what Segways are? They're like these stand-up bicycles that propel themselves. Supposedly, if you just think about going one way, they go in that direction. In terms of physical activity, I've never ridden on one. However, I do understand that it does take a certain amount of physical balance to do. Has anyone ridden in one before? Am I right about that? That you do need a certain amount of ability to. She fell twice. So look in what good shape she is, and she fell twice. So it's probably it's something you just have to be confident about. On a Segway. Okay, no one here is going over a cliff. I promise you. But yes, it is. It is. Everyone. It is very intuitive, and of course, it doesn't. It's not very aerobic. You don't have to worry about that. It's just that I would say if balance is your main issue, it may not be the thing for you. Does that make sense? Is that said correctly? Okay. But it's cool. It's really cool, and I think a lot of you are going to choose that one. I personally experience cultures through my stomach. That is the way I do it. And for those of you who feel that way, we have two experiences. One is the cooking class. Now, it's not just a cooking class. It's a trip with a chef through Machane Yehuda, which is the coolest market you've ever seen, fresh everything. You'll be picking out your ingredients. She'll be taking you back to a kitchen with probably 30, 40 people. I'm not sure you're going to be able to dice every onion, but you will have the experience of learning how to cook the meal. And of course, afterwards, the most important part, you get to eat it. Okay, so that you understand that one. For those of you who are into wine, Israel, believe it or not, it's more than Manischewitz. Truly great wines are being produced in Israel right now, award-winning wines. And one of the really nice wineries not too far from Jerusalem we will be visiting. It's called the Flam Winery, and there's a goat farm, which I have visited before, where they make cheese. Actually, it's really a mountain where the goats are just running around in a little tent where you buy the goat cheese. And I will tell you, I am a snob when it comes to cheese. This was, I mean, I go to Zingerman's to go get my cheese. I mean, that's how, and yeah, I got to tell you, this was some of the best cheese I've ever eaten in my entire life. And you'll sit and you hear about the wines, you'll taste a little wine, you'll eat a little cheese, a little pita, and it will be a very relaxing and fun afternoon. And finally, and again, I don't know how you're going to decide these things because they're all amazing. We've never done this on our trip before. We are actually going to go into the West Bank to meet with members of the Palestinian Authority and to get a very different perspective than you might get from the Israelis that you'll meet on the street. I did this once on a rabbinic tour 30 years ago, 20-something years ago, when we thought peace was going to happen. I'm very interested to see what this will be like. But again, fascinating, cool, a story that you're going to get to come home and tell to your friends. So how you're going to choose between those four, I have no idea. If you don't get your first choice, don't worry, because they're all going to be amazing. Yeah. Just do it when you get home. Because you're going to forget all this by the time a week goes by. Yeah. Yeah, so Friday, that was a good question. Originally there wasn't, but we switched things around so that Friday, the fun time to go to the market is Friday afternoon. So we now have it so that Friday afternoon before Shabbos, you'll be there with all the other crazy Jews trying to get their and the rugelach is what you really want to be there for. Yeah, it's the same place, but the Friday experience won't be really a shopping experience. It'll be a wow, look at this type of experience, and you'll get a little something to eat. The track experience is really what the Israeli does, to get their food. You'll go through and you'll bargain with people and feel the fruit and buy stuff and go home and cook it. So it's a little different, but yeah. Good question though. Yeah. Yeah, you should have gotten a form in the mail. Email. Email. Tracks. Okay, you will be getting something asking you to sign up, or not sign up. Let us know if I'll resend it, asking you that if you're traveling with someone, you should just let us know. Yeah. Okay, I'll make sure it gets out to you. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah. This form with the tracks did come to your email address. If it didn't, on the sheet that you got, there are details on that sheet. Right. Oh, the itinerary. Yeah. We'll be sending the itinerary also. Yeah. There's a basic itinerary on the website, which you can look at, artsaworld.org, but we'll be sending a much more detailed itinerary as we get closer. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, I mean, it's not really first come, first serve. A lot of it has to do, it's really how the numbers are going to fall. It's really how the numbers are going to fall. And we just don't know. And it also has to do with things like whether this bus can double back and take this group of people or not. And it's really just how the numbers are going to fall. Yeah. It probably won't be first come, first serve. They will do it. They'll do it the best they can. And Art to World, our tour providers. Yeah. Okay, so you may have done that already. But send it to us again just in case, so we have it when we send it out. Yeah. Great. Go ahead and change your mind. Yeah. You're Jewish. It's your prerogative. Good. And in terms of whether it will be first come, first serve, I'm not saying getting it early won't help you. All I'm saying is there are lots of factors, and they have to deal with all of them. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're gonna have, because remember, we have 3 buses. We can stuff a bus or we can go short on a bus, but there's a limit to how much we can manipulate that. So that we are going to need something like 30-ish, 40 people on every bus. We can't have a track of 15. It's just not going to work. Yeah. They could have 2 buses, although there might be, we just talked to them about this the other day, there might be a limit on how many Segways we can rent. So no, when I say believe me, when I say there are 1,000 factors involved, there are 1,000 factors involved. And but I will say this, no one gets preference for anything, including the rabbis. I mean, everything everything. That's just the way we run things. There's no first class on this trip. Yep. How many are we? About 120, 40 on each bus. It's going to be a little short of that probably because people will fall off, I think, now. Fall off the Segway and not be able to get on the trip. Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, please, absolutely. This is your day to get away from your spouse. As a matter of fact, I would highly suggest that you take a day off. I mean, it's a good thing. It's good for your marriage. So, and it's a good point. My mother-in-law will be going on the trip, and she was calling her friends today to find out which track they were going on. And I told Wendy to tell her, no, you don't understand the idea of tracks. You'll be on the bus with them every other day. The track is a day to get away from them. So don't ask your friends what they're doing. Don't ask your wife what she's doing. Just do what you want to do. Okay. Any other questions about the tracks? Yeah. The great thing, I did the kids trips for years and years and years, and I had to make sure that before that bus left, we had every kid accounted for, that they hadn't drunk any wine or beer. You know, you're adults. Do whatever the heck you want to do. Okay, so you want to go and you know, and take a day, and I say that, and I mean it. I will tell you that everyone has the intention of doing it. But unless they're just not feeling well, which also, thank God, doesn't happen all that often. But the truth is that once this group thing happens, nobody wants to miss the day with their bus. So you can do it, gegezond the hate, have fun, but it doesn't happen as often as you would think. Yeah. You should get your first and second choice, but I still say to you that if for some reason the numbers fall terribly and you get your fifth choice, even though there's 4 choices, it's going to be amazing, okay? Right. They will not send you on the tough hike if you can't do the tough hike. Yes, yes, yes. Right. You, they might send on the tough hike, but you look too good. They may not. Right. Right. No, our every intention is to give everyone their first choice. We really think we'll give everyone their first or second choice. I don't think anyone's going to get their third choice. And if so, the third choice will be a private experience with me where I'll be taking you on my own personal tour, okay? Yeah. Okay, good. So that is the, I forgot a few details that I really do have to talk about, which are much more boring. Tonight, you must go home. You must go into whatever drawer you keep your travel documents in. You must take that passport out. Look at it. Don't just look at it. Make sure it actually is your passport and not, you know, your kids or something like that. Open it up. Look at the date of expiration. And if the date of expiration is earlier than November 7th of 2015, tomorrow you call the passport agency and get a new passport. November 7th, 2015. They will not let you on the plane if you are not 6 months out in terms of your expiration date. 6 months out. Got it? Okay, good. Another little detail, travel insurance. This is going to be a little bit hypocritical because I never purchase travel insurance. Never. Okay? I don't need it for myself. I figure I've already saved enough money to amortize my own loss if I do get ill. But on this trip, everyone must purchase travel insurance. There's a lot of reasons for it. First of all, Israel's far away. And so if there is a physical issue, you want to have that insurance that's going to get you back and whatever. Secondly, you know, it's a lot of money. And so if you get ill or if there's a death in the family, whatever it is, make sure your insurance covers the things you're worried about because there are different coverages. You really don't want to lose, I don't know what it is, $15,000 or whatever it is, or $12,000 based, you know, if I go to Jamaica and I lose 3 or 4, okay, so I can live with it. But this amount of money you really do not want to lose because you've had an illness. And if you don't mind losing it, then please talk to me afterwards because I have some fundraising that we have to do. Also, there are different levels of insurance that you can choose as well, and you can cover yourself for other things that may be important to you. So please, for this trip, purchase travel insurance, even if it's not your normal practice. Also, telephones. So somehow they still haven't come up with a plan for Verizon that will let me cheaply and conveniently take my cell phone and use it in Israel. You can do it, but it costs a lot of money. There are ways around it. You can buy SIM cards for your phone, and that's perfectly fine. Most people get around this problem by using a company called TravelCell, and you should, if you haven't gotten it, you will be getting a form. However, and what you do is you have an alternative phone. It's very inexpensive. You get the insurance, and therefore, if something goes wrong, you're covered. you give your family that number, and you have your phone in Israel. The slight problem, the glitch, is that TravelCell is one of those companies that was hacked not too long ago, and with its people getting credit card information. So they're suggesting that perhaps you might want to call to make your reservation rather than sending your credit card information over internet. I'm probably just going to send my credit card information over the internet, but they are admitting there was a problem, they understand there's a problem, and they have no problem with you either faxing or calling in your information to TravelCell. You can, you can, but yeah. Also, the other thing about TravelCell is if you do want to use them, we don't care what you use, honestly. Frankly, we'd rather you not use the phone at all, because you do need to give them a code, Temple15, to receive a discount, and that will be on the form you get. Okay, Temple15. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that's true. But the problem is that data is very expensive. So you can only do that when you're in your hotel room and have Wi-Fi, or at a Starbucks or wherever you might be. Right. Yeah. This is Israel. They absolutely. They invented Wi-Fi. They have yeah. I'm only kidding. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you'll need an adapter. In the next meeting that we have, we're going to go over all those details. The reason I'm not doing it here is one of the things you're missing is that, and one of the reasons you must be at the next meeting, probably the most important reason, we also have to give you some stuff, but is that Shosh will do the best packing lecture you've ever had you will never pack the same way after Shosh gives you her lesson on how to pack a bag. So it's an important thing, and she'll talk about the adapters and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, cash is a good question. Again, we'll probably do that next time, but you need to go to your bank. You need to let them know you're going to Israel and ask them, and these days it almost is always yes. If this little, where's my card? So here's my, is this it? No, that's Costco. That's more important. Okay. So if your bank is of the, like here, mine is Cirrus and NYSE. So you need to make sure that they have ATMs in Israel where your card will work. And the answer is probably yes, but double check it anyway. And one of the best ways to get money is to get them from the ATM. However, I always bring several $100s in cash, and I just change it right away, so I have some money for the first part of the trip. But listen, let's face it, a lot of things you'll be using your credit card for anyway, and you're not going to be using your credit card except for shopping as much as you think you will. There's a few dinners. We love to let you go out and have dinner on your own, have lunch on your own, because that's part of the experience of being in Israel. We try to keep you out of, these cafeterias. We only go into those places if we absolutely have to, and those are all included. But we want you to go out and buy falafel on the street or shawarma or whatever it is. Yeah. You have to. It changes. You have to go to your bank and ask your bank whether their card will work in Israeli ATMs. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Anyone? How much? There probably are, but I don't know. I've never had anyone take too much, so I don't know what the answer to that question is. But yes, there always are. I think it's 10,000, but don't take me too seriously. Yeah. No, they'll take care of all of that. Yes, you do, but yeah, the answer is yes, but the travel agency takes care of all of that. You'll be given your documents when you go there. Good. Any other questions? Okay, just a few more things that I had to go over. Tracks. Okay, so actually the last thing really is to talk, for those of you who are not at the class, to talk just a little bit more about these sheets. One of the things we want you to do coming out of this trip is to feel more connected to the many issues that affect Israelis and Israeli life. And one of those is an unfortunate one, which is that the reform movement does enjoy somewhat of a second-class citizenship in Israel. Reform rabbis can't perform marriages and so on and so forth. And we can change that, and we have changed that. And the most potent weapon we have in changing that unfortunate situation, and including other situations like the role of women and so on, is through our participation in the elections of the World Zionist Organization. And what we're going to ask you to do, if you're coming on this trip, is to take one of these home with you and go online and go to the voting site and vote for ARTSA. I think it's the sixth or seventh one down. You vote for ARTSA. And what that does is the WZO actually is an important organization in terms of funneling the funds that you give to Federation and to JNF into projects in Israel. And by voting, and if the reform movement can control, which we think we can, 51% of the voting, we can begin to decide where that money goes. And by deciding where that money goes, they can decide to give it to a reform congregation up north instead of an Orthodox one, or to hire a woman rabbi as the local rabbi instead of a male Orthodox one, or to have a water reclamation project down near the Reform Kibbutzim in the Negev, and so on and so on and so on. It's very important. It's $10 just to pay for the election itself. And again, I announced this earlier, but if you vote, we'll then send you a form. You'll fill out that you voted. It's a lottery ticket. It will go into a lottery. The winner wins a reserved parking lot at High Holiday Services at Temple Israel. So that's worth it. Vote for your parents, vote for your children. Just keep voting and voting and voting and voting. That's right. Space, yeah, right. Space. Finally, I think that's about it. I just want to talk about the next 4 weeks. Next week, Howard Lupovich, who is spectacular speaker, will be speaking to us here at 7:30. I hope you've signed up for the class. He really is amazing. Matter of fact, we've hired him to go to accompany our trip as our scholar to Eastern Europe in October. That's how good he is. You'll love it. The next week we have another one from MSU, and then the final week, which is 4 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever it is, the fourth week, Professor Lupovich will be speaking again, and we will have an 8:30 meeting, and that's the meeting where we're really going to get you your documents and make sure that you have everything you need and get the packing tour and answer your specific questions about what you need to bring with you. So questions? Yeah. Did I say 7:30? I'm wrong. 7 o'clock. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. We are streaming it, live streaming it, so just get to a place where you can watch a computer and you'll have it. We'll make sure you get any documents or anything that you would need, of course, off-site, but you can certainly watch it on the computer, yeah. Okay, yeah. Steve? If there is a safety issue with Petra, then we'll be going to the aquarium and the Pillars of Solomon instead. And again, as I said before, and you'll love that as much as you'd love Petra. No, I just had that conversation with the security people, and they say right now there's absolutely no problem going to Petra. Thousands of people are going a day. It's really not a problem. What you're worrying about, if ISIS were to get close enough that they, then of course we will not be going to Jordan. And we have very good relationship. Da'at, which is our ARTSA World, has a very good relationship with the security services. And even this trip, that's why I'm trying to get you to unclench from your expectations of what you're going to do on any particular day. So I'm very excited about the trip to the Palestinian Authority. It's really, I did it once. It's an amazing thing to do. 99.99% chance it's happening. But, could be that that day they don't want you to go into that town, and then we don't go into that town, and you go do something else. You drink wine. What could be bad, right? And that really is, I think that's the theme of what I'm trying to tell you. We have these choices, we have these tracks, we have these options for going with this person or that person, but I will, this is a money-back personal guarantee. You will, and no one's going to ask for their money back. You will end up coming out thinking that this was the best group you could have gone with, that was the best option you could have chose, that it had to turn out the way it did, and that's just the way it is. That's the magic of Israel and the magic of traveling to Israel with Temple Israel. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to stick around if you have any more personal questions you need to ask, and we will see you next week at 7 o'clock.